Welcome back. You're watching and listening to Breakfast with Stephen and Ellie.
Let's have a look at the newspapers for you this morning. First pick of the day, The Independent. Kate the Consoler. The princess's hug for beaten Jabeur as the Tunisian lost in a heartbreaking defeat, well, for her, against Marketa Vondrousova.
Oh, that was a lovely moment yesterday, wasn't it? Newfound freedom.
When she lost.
No, when Catherine cuddled her.
Oh, I see. I thought you were
It
just...
was really lovely. Well, not when she lost, that would be mean, but when Catherine cuddled her, I thought that was really nice. Newfound freedom outside of the EU, the Express say, as Britain signs a historic treaty to join the £12 trillion Indo-Pacific trade bloc.
Starmer uses his party to focus on the hard grind of rebuilding economic credibility. That's on the front of The Observer.
Heartbreak for TV couple. Helen George and Jack Ashton have called it quits, according to the Mirror. Now, do you have a favourite TV couple? Do let us know. You can send in your views, gbviews@gbnews.com.
That might be us.
Could be us.
And for the Sunday Telegraph, Environment Watchdog calls for ULEZ-style travel restrictions to be approved. That's going to be controversial.
Yeah. Well, it's time to go through the papers now. And joining us this morning is editor of Spiked, Tom Slater, alongside writer Candice Holdsworth. Very good to see you both. Thank you so much for your company. And Tom, this is an interesting story, isn't it, in the Daily Star. Stag do's and Just Stop Oil.
Yes, so some people might have seen this picture doing the rounds on social media. Very, very funny. So whenever it's a stag do, you think, what can you dress the groom to be up as that will get him the most aggro, the most abuse, the most humiliation? So this gentleman and his group of friends, they were going to the Grand Prix at Silverstone, and they thought, we'll dress him up as a Just Stop Oil supporter. So as a consequence of this, he was harassed, not just by members of the public who were probably worried he was going to run onto the track or whatever, but also by the police, who were in constant fear that he was about to throw confetti all over the grid or whatever.
Or get run over.
Oh, exactly. So this is a stroke of genius on behalf of this man's friends.
It is a stroke of genius, but is it a step too far?
Oh, I wouldn't say so. I mean, I laughed, so, you know, from a distance. But I was saying this to Candice earlier, a friend of mine went on a stag do a few years ago, which was at Glastonbury. So they thought, what can we dress the groom up as that will get him the most abuse possible? And they settled on Margaret Thatcher, which I thought was actually a genius
That's
move,
also genius.
given the demographics.
Oh, there's your Just Stop Oil fella.
He wouldn't get a moment's peace, would he, at Silverstone?
No. I think that's great, though, because it actually says how much people dislike Just Stop Oil.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's true. Especially at somewhere like Silverstone. Petrol heads, aren't they? Candice, what do you think?
I think it's brilliant, and I think it does show they don't have popular support. I mean, there's sort of this impression that loads of people are behind them, and I think they think ordinary people are behind them, but not at all. And they have done polls now which show that the vast majority of people disagree with their methods, but they're still funded by very wealthy multimillionaires from places like Silicon Valley who are still paying them to do this. And you just wonder, at what point are they going to withdraw that support? I know there was a very high-profile one in the Times recently who said he was completely put off by their antics, and so he wasn't going to be supporting them anymore. But plenty of the people he knew in his circles still were. Yeah,
yeah. Let's have a look at the Sunday Telegraph, Candice. And ULEZ, which, if you don't live in London, is this ultra-low emission zone, which basically gets people with older cars. And this green watchdog says it needs expanding.
Yeah, so this is in the Telegraph, and so it's very critical of this watchdog, which is Natural England, putting pressure on local councils to implement these ultra-low emission zones. And basically adhering to clean air regulations. And one of the places they mention is Epping Forest in Essex, where there's a bit of a battle going on to build about 125,000 new homes, but pressure's coming from Natural England to have a ULEZ-type scheme, but they don't want to do it because they know how controversial it is. I mean, it's torn apart places like Oxford, where there have been these huge fights over ULEZ between local people, the council, and obviously people who want this scheme to go ahead. And that people are saying, just stay away from this. Don't try and implement this here.
Why do they need to do it? Because, I mean, if we're meant to be going to... You know, you're not going to be able to buy a petrol or diesel car in another 6 years, 7 years. why do they need to start implementing all this stuff now?
And also as well, I mean, there are genuine concerns for people who need cars to get around, older people, people with children. And unless you actually do genuinely live in an area where everything is in with walking distance, it's a problem. I thought Panorama did a really good, even-handed documentary on it a few weeks ago, showing just how much extra time is added to people's journeys with the implementation of these ULEZ schemes. So, I mean, the opposition to it is genuine. I think sometimes it's characterised as a bit conspiratorial, and I think there are some conspiratorial elements for sure, but it's not exclusively that. It's honestly people saying, you are making my life more difficult. I mean, a lot of restaurant owners also say see a fall in customers because people live too far away to walk.
Well, it's penalising people who can't afford a newer car.
Yes,
basically.
yes, yeah, older people in particular.
Yeah. And it's not just a London story as well. It's worth remembering. You're seeing these spring up across the country. You're seeing it spring up even not necessarily in city centres, as you were suggesting. So this is something which, for whatever reason, councils of all types are being pretty attached to, not least because it's also another revenue stream.
It's a revenue
This
stream,
is another thing
yeah.
which really makes it even more irritating to members of the public, I think. They sense that they're having these targets brought down upon their heads. They are really disproportionately affecting people who can't afford it. But at the same time, it's also just another way to fill up the council coffers.
Yeah, yeah, that's the bottom line.
Tom, should we look at the Sunday Express and the huge Brexit breakthrough, which is being described on their front page?
Yes, so as you've already been talking about, the UK formally joining the Comprehensive and Progressive Trans-Pacific Partnership, almost got there in the end. So this collection of 11 countries, £12 trillion worth of potential trade there. That's the
thing, is that a slightly deceptive figure?
It is. I mean, it makes it sound like all of that money is just going to flow into the UK
into us, yeah.
right now. As you were talking about earlier, people have pointed out that really this could account for probably less than 1% of UK GDP. It's a longer-term bet, I think it's fair to say. It's part of a kind of broader geopolitical tilt towards the Indo-Pacific, towards where it is expected not only that there's potentially going to be more conflict in the world, therefore you want better alliances with the democracies in that region, but also because of the fact that so much of kind of future growth in the near future is going to come from that part of the world. So it's not necessarily it's going to transform things overnight, but it shows one argument that those of us on the Brexit side have always made, is that particularly in a kind of changing world, you need that ability as a nation-state to be nimble, to tilt towards where you need to tilt towards, to strike up partnerships outside of that very clunky, slow kind of EU umbrella. But it's not the thing that's going to kind of transform economic fortunes overnight. But I don't think that's necessarily what it was ever about in the first place.
No, I suppose if it's a step in the right direction.
Let's hope so. We'll see. I mean, they're talking it up. You know, they're saying that this is access to these huge markets. Let's see if that is actually the case. One of my issues always was, and I was talking to Tom about this earlier, with them promising these big trade deals, I always felt like they were trying to counter the economic argument put forward by, say, George Osborne, that would say leaving the EU is going to really damage our trading balance. So, you know, we need to go and seek out all these other deals. And now they are, and I hope that they actually bear fruit and bring in cheaper goods, cheaper services, which was always promised.
Yeah, well, let's hope so. Shall we have a look at the Princess of Wales?
Yes.
Cuddling...
Anjabur.
Yes, yeah, this is a story in the Mirror. She was at the Wimbledon women's final yesterday, looking very emotional, actually. She was really getting into it. And she comforted the loser. She's been pictured quite a lot at Wimbledon. It seems to be very much part of her brand. Quite a sporty person.
Yeah, well, she's got an official capacity, hasn't she?
Oh, yes.
I don't know what it is now, but she's like the head of Wimbledon.
All England law,
that's
tennis.
I have a slightly controversial opinion on it, though. I've always loved Kate's style, always loved the way it always had, like, historical references and was beautifully tailored. But I think lately she's looking a little dowdy. I don't love this new look.
No,
I don't.
It's a very dowdy look. It's a very dowdy outfit, and she's based it on... Look at her face.
I've got the same dress. Yes.
Very dowdy.
See, I really love this look.
Yeah, see, everyone's got different opinions.
Yeah, everyone's got different.
She has got amazing style.
Don't backtrack.
I'm not.
Don't backtrack.
I'm
You've
always.
just slagged off Ellie's favourite outfit. And the
it's her
fact she's got pictures lined up for the top of the next hour of her and Catherine next to each other in the same hour. She's got it all lined up, ready to go. You've just said she looks
I shouldn't have gone there. I shouldn't have gone there. It's too
No, it's
controversial.
fabulous. If I had money, I'd give it to you. Absolutely bloody brilliant.
There I was thinking I was a trendsetter.
No, you're dowdy.
I've been humbled. I'm dowdy.
Dowdy.
Candice, I thought we were friends.
We are. This is terrible. This is shocking. I've touched the third rail of GBNEWS.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't make that up, can you?
No.
That's fabulous. Oh, dear. Well, I've been humbled. That serves me right. doesn't it?
Yeah. There you go.
Oh, dear.
Just very quickly, would you mow your lawn, Tom, if you had one, at 8 o'clock on a Sunday morning? Yes or no?
Had one.
No, I don't have a lawn, and I wouldn't. Not 8 o'clock on a Sunday morning. No, I wouldn't.
And in Torquay says, in France, it's illegal to use your lawnmower or any noisy machinery on Sundays outside 10 to midday.
Genius.
There you go. Keep your thoughts coming through. GBViews at gbnews.com. It's not a day to mow your lawn, though. Here's your weather.